Hello and welcome back to No Shadows. Today is March 28, 2024. Today I really don't know what to title this. It's a very huge subject. I've done a lot of study on this. I could speak for hours on this. But I want to show you how the Greek Hellenistic Judaism morphed into Christianity. And again, I cannot in 15-20 minutes even begin to go over what needs to be said, hardly. But I want to give a few of my thoughts, and I'm just going to kind of randomly do this, so bear with me. Hopefully it comes out coherent. But if we start, you really need to start with Alexander the Great and take it up through at least the Council of Nicaea. But again, for the sake of time, I'm going to just kind of really briefly, really fast go over it. But hopefully I can do a better study, or even at some point maybe make my own CD, something like that. I don't know yet how I'll do it, but anyway, let's get started here. But let's just start with Antiochus Epiphanes, or Antiochus, or however you want to say his name. And he was a great king. And but we have to go back up, because Seleucus, when Alexander the Great died, Seleucus took part, which was a general. He took part of that kingdom that Alexander the Great had established. And it was his sons, and he named him Antiochus or Antiochus, whatever you want to call him, however how you pronounce it. But he named and established the town of Antioch in honor of his sons. And all of his sons had the name Antiochus. And so Antiochus, or Antiochus Epiphanes, was the fourth one in that line. And so that's kind of how, but that's how the town of Antioch got its name, which is in Turkey. But when Antiochus Epiphanes came to power, he then thought he would go down into Egypt and take control of Egypt as well. That's where another one of the generals was, down there. He took that section down there. And of course, between the two kingdoms was Israel and Jerusalem. And at first, they were okay with the Jews being the Jews. They pretty much left them alone. But he got this idea that he wanted to control the whole kingdom. And he hated the Jews. He turned into a hatred of the Jewish people, because of course the Jewish people are the ones keeping the laws of God. And this whole account is written in the Maccabees. And you really need to read the Maccabees, because it shows you this whole progress through there. And I found in my study of this, which I've done a tremendous amount of study on, that there's 3 mitzvahs. If you don't know what a mitzvah is, then you need to look that up and learn what it is. But there's 3 of them that has always seemed to be the ones that bugs or irritates, or whatever the word is, those outside the Jewish faith. And those 3 are the Sabbath, the kosher laws, and circumcision. And that's borne out very clearly of the hatred of those in the Maccabees. Them people went through horrible things. And the two that has probably been the biggest pushback that we get, my wife and I, that I find, is on the Sabbath and the kosher laws. And especially, it's amazing to us that if somebody shows up and they have a medical condition, you're fine. They will make all kinds of exemptions for you, and they'll gladly try to help you and find some. But when you show up or you make it clear that you do not eat certain foods because of the Most High's law, it is vicious. We have faced vicious attacks on that, and it really surprises me. But anyway, these are the laws, or the Sabbath and the kosher laws and circumcision that Antiochus Epiphanes, he tried very hard to he outlawed them, and he tried very hard to get these Jewish people, the ones that were faithful to the Most High God, to back down from. He tried to destroy them. He killed them. They pried their mouth open and they shoved pork in their mouth. They killed the women who circumcised their sons. Again, read in the Maccabees, and you'll find these accounts. But what I find very interesting here, in the correlation between the Hellenistic Judaism, the Antiochus Epiphanes, and Christianity, had to do with the temple. And the temple is so huge. I mean, it's and that's why Christians don't like the temple today. It's so huge. That's the dwelling place of God. That's where He dwells among His people. He's going to do that. It plainly says in there, He's going to place His sanctuary there. He's going to dwell amongst the people of Israel forever. It will never end. But Antiochus got so mad, so upset, that he went in to the temple. He broke into the temple. He destroyed things. And he went in, he ripped open the Holy of Holies, and they went in and they set up a statue of Zeus. And they took prostitutes in there, and they did horrible things in there, and they defiled the temple, and they defiled the Holy of Holies. And they did it by force, which basically is a rape. They raped the temple, basically. And you can read in there, and eventually Maccabees, that's what the Maccabees is about. They fought back, and they eventually restored the temple. And that's where Hanukkah comes from. That's a whole nother study. Like I say, I could talk on this for hours. But I find that, and I want you to think about this, that they went in there and they set up that statue of Zeus. And they did this out of anger, out of just trying to defile whatever the Jews were doing, just trying to defile the holiness of God, the holy place of God, defile that. And then let's fast forward about, let's see, it'd be about around 200 years to AD 30, 31, 32, whatever it was, I don't know. That supposedly, again, I don't believe this anymore, but supposedly that Jesus died and He took care of the sin problem, paid for the penalty of sins. And when He died, the veil of the temple was supposedly ripped from top to bottom. Right? That's what it says in all the synoptic gospels, every one of them. I don't think John does this. But the synoptic gospel says that from top to bottom, the veil of the temple was rent in twain. Now, what does that remind you of? If we picture somebody who had been violated, a woman that's been violated, what do we picture? Torn clothing, right? Again, I don't believe, there's nothing that proves, nothing outside of the Synoptic Gospels, there's nothing that I have found, even Josephus's writings, that proves or says or anything that the veil was actually torn. I don't believe that it was. In fact, temple sacrifices went on clear up until the year 66. And that's a fact. So I don't think that that veil was actually torn. But the way I like to say it is what Antiochus did physically, Christianity wants to do spiritually. Because again, it wasn't physically done. And they want to open that up, just rip it open and say, there it is, everybody can see it. Because it's a holy place, the Most High God. I mean, even the high priest, when he goes in, he has to go through a tremendous amount of ritual. He has to be sure he's 100% pure and clean and holy before God. Because if he doesn't go in there, God will strike him dead. That's a fact. And so, I hope you can kind of see where I'm going and how I'm making this correlation between the two of one physically going in, Antiochus physically going in and just defiling the temple, and Christianity doing the same thing. They rip it open and they put Jesus in there as high priest. Jesus is everything. He's high priest, he's the sacrifice, he's the king, he's the everything. And that's an impossibility, people. You can't have the same person, you can't have something the same on everything. You can't be the high priest and the sacrifice both. You can't do that. But they want to put Jesus in there. And I found increasingly more and more that all the Christian preachers, they're putting Jesus is above everything. Well, I mean, the New Testament says he's above everything. He's above all. God gave him all power. And, but the Tanakh says he doesn't give his power to another. The Most High doesn't give his power, doesn't give his glory to another. And he plainly says in Isaiah 43, 9-10, that besides him there is no Savior. Look it up. Read Isaiah 43, and that is in the next few chapters is stated multiple times. There is no God but me. There is no God but me. There's one God, the Most High God. But anyway, they want to push Jesus in there, and they want to kick God out, and they want to violate that, and that's what this is. And through my studies, I begin to understand and see that, and it's the same things that they're against: the Sabbath, the kosher laws, and circumcision. Christianity is Paul was totally against those things. In fact, he says that there's nothing unclean. Mark says there's nothing unclean. All foods are clean. Nothing could be further from the truth. Read Isaiah 65. Read Isaiah 56. That's for somebody who is not Jewish, not born in the seed of Abraham or whoever. I mean, that's for Isaiah 56 is for everybody on the face of the earth. If you want to be holy before God, it tells you how in Isaiah 56. So, I hope you can kind of get where I'm going with this, of how what Christianity did in 32, 3, 4, whatever it was. They did the same thing. It was just in a different form, perhaps, but they did the same thing as Antiochus Epiphanes did by trying to rip open the Holy of Holies and defile the Holy of Holies. That was the whole focus of Christianity. They loved, I sat through many sermons where they gloried in the fact that the veil of the temple was rent in twain from top to the bottom. Christians love to speak about that. Again, it did not happen. I can't see any proof that it happened. Because you would think that would be something that Josephus would speak about. And there's other documents I have that says nothing about it that should. I will get into them in another time. But again, I hope this makes sense. I just kind of wanted to wing this. I didn't really, because there's just so much to speak here, I didn't hardly know how to condense it down to just a short little video here. But I hope I've give you some material here that you can kind of go back and do your own study. Start trying to make the comparisons. Read the Maccabees with the idea in mind of what Christianity did, with the veil of the temple being rent in twain from top to the bottom. Because that did not happen. I mean, you think God's going to do that? I mean, I don't want to get crude. I don't want to get disgusting here. That'd be like me just taking my wife out and exposing her. I mean, come on. I wouldn't do that. This is disgusting, people. So think about these things. Okay? Anyway, that's my thoughts. Give me your ideas in the comments below. I'd be interested to see what you think and how you feel on that. But this is kind of the comparisons I want you to make and to study and to read the, again, read the Maccabees. It's not a biblical document per se, but it is historical history, and it's something that you really need to. I mean, I think it's a accurate history. That's what I'm trying to say. And so, read them. Give me your comments. I'd be interested to know what you think about it. Thank you, and have a good day.